so today we are doing scale maps and plans. So you may have seen a map where you've looked at it and it's got a scale or a key sometimes or a code down the bottom, and it explains that a particular length is actually in real life a certain distance. That's what we're talking about with the maps. With the plans, we're looking at something like a floor plan. So if you look at a house that's being built or a villa or a unit, you'll see a floor plan. On that floor plan, that's not the actual size of the rooms. That's what they've brought it scaled down to so you can see it on a piece of paper. So that's what we're dealing with. So all maps and plans have the actual or real distances or lengths actually scaled down or reduced in size by using a scale. When we have very small things, you might have a really tiny insect or a little ant, or if we are looking under a microscope, it might be small molecules of a disease. Those things are very, very small, and you have to look through a microscope to see them properly. So what they often do is enlarge it and draw that picture, so they've scaled it up or enlarged it in size, but they've also used a scale. Okay, so looking at a scale, it's really a ratio. We know what ratios are now. And the ratio is from the drawing measurement to the real measurement in real life. Okay, so the procedure is, for maps and plans, we will use a scale and it will look like this, 1 to a number. To get a real measurement from that, you want to multiply by that number. Okay, so you want to make it bigger to show what it's like in real life. To get a drawing measurement, so you can scale it down to draw it, you need to divide by that number. Okay, so it's pretty easy. You're either timesing by it or dividing by it. If you're not sure in a test, it's a 50-50 guess on which one you're doing. At the end though, it's always a good idea to check that your answer looks correct. Okay, so let's have a look at these first ones. So in these ones we are simplifying the scale. So they've given us 1 centimetre to 5 kilometres. Well, the first thing we need to do is get it into the same units. So I'm going to keep the 1 centimetre and I'm going to change the kilometres into metres first. Alright, so we're going to a smaller unit, so we times by 1,000 because it's kilo. So 5 times 1,000 is 5,000. Alright, now we've still got to go down to centimetres because these units have to be the same. So we're going to convert it down to centimetres. So again, we're going to a smaller unit, so we times. And this one timesing by 100 because centi is 100. So if we do 5,000 times 100, it will look like this. Okay, now the last thing you need to do is just cross off the units with your red pen. And what you're left with is this. And it says 1 to 500,000. That's our scale. So the scale itself, when you're finished, has no units on it, but you can see the step before they were in the same units. All right, so let's look at this next one. Now, when you draw this up, I want you to draw it so that these little gaps are all 1 centimetre apart. All right, and then just draw that diagram up. Now, when we do a scale for this, and a lot of things when you look at keys and scales on maps look like this. So what you've got to do, always remember that we're doing drawing to real to get our scale out. Now on the drawing, that is actually 1 centimetre. So 1 centimetre on our drawing, they're telling you, actually is going to represent 100 metres. So that's what it's trying to tell you. 1 centimetre, when you measure that with your ruler, is going to be, whatever it says here, 100 metres. So now we're doing what we did above. We're going to get everything into centimetres. So if we convert this to centimetres, we're going smaller. So we're timesing by 100 for the centi. 100 times 100 give you that. Now we're in the same units, we cross our units off, and we end up with this. 1 to 10,000. All right, now let's look at the next one. So we are going to be, again, looking at our measurement that we have. Let's bring it over a little bit. Okay, so this measurement here, I want you to make these 2 centimetres apart. When you're drawing it, just measure it up so it's 2 centimetres for each of those. Now we're going to look at it, and again it's drawing to real for our scale. Now on our drawing, we can see that that's 2 centimetres in measurement, and they're telling you that that's going to represent 500 kilometres this time. Okay, so we're going to keep our centimetres, and we're going to gradually get this other side to centimetres. So firstly, we're going to go to metres. So we're going smaller, we're going to times by 1,000, and that will give you this. And then we're going to go next step. Keep this 2 centimetres over here. We're going to go from metres to centimetres, so we're going to times by 100, and we're going to end up with this. Okay, now we can get rid of our units because they're the same, and we're left with this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's 7 zeros, which will be 50 million. Now this one's not finished, okay, so we need to break this down a bit further. So you're going to see if it goes in your calculator. Remember, we can enter it using a fraction key, so we'll see how we go. I'm going to do a fraction key. I'm going to put in 2 over 50 million. So, 2, down arrow, 50, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 50 million. Then press equals, and that's what we get. 1, 2, let's count those zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. 1 to 25 and 6 zeros. So it looks like this. And there is your answer, 1 to 25 million. All right, now this next question, it gets a little bit wordy, and in the next video I'm going to do a bit more on this. So it tells you a map has a scale of 1 to 50,000. Well, the first thing you should do is write drawing real 1 to 50,000. We do that first. Then it says, what distance is represented by 64 millimetres on the map? So the 64 millimetres is the drawing measurement. So we write that under the word drawing, and we're trying to find the real distance. Now, they don't always make that obvious, but they want to know the real or the actual distance. So that's what we're trying to find. So remember what I said before. If you're trying to get a real measurement, we're going to times by that number in the scale. So I'm going to write my 64 millimetres down. And because I'm trying to get a real measurement, I'm going to times by this number here in the scale, 50,000. So now I'm going to go to the calculator. I'm going to type that in, 64 times 50,000. And see what we end up with. All right, what do we end up with? We've got 3,200,000. 3,200,000. And then we write millimetres on the end. Now, according to what they've asked for, that sounds fine, right? They haven't told you what they want the answer in. But in reality, would you tell anybody that something is 3,200,000 millimetres? No one really knows what you're talking about. So we might just change this to metres. Now, we're going to a bigger unit, so we're dividing by 1,000 for milli. So if you do 3,200,000 divided by 1,000, you're going to get this. 3,200 metres. Now that answer is acceptable. People often talk about 3,200 metres. Or they might change it to kilometres and they might go, well, I'm going bigger, I'm going to divide by 1,000 for kilo. And they might say that the answer is 3.2 kilometres. So in a test, they'll probably say to you, we want the answer in metres or we want the answer in kilometres, and you'll do whatever they ask. Okay? So I would say that both of those answers are acceptable. This one, technically, for what they've asked, because they haven't told you what they want the units in, would still be okay at the moment, but I really want you changing it to one of these. Okay, so we'll come back in the next video and we'll go through a few more questions, especially with the words in it.